Hello! So, in this vlog I'm going to be talking about The Way of Edan. So, this is a book by Philip Chase, who is a friend of mine here on BookTube. There's hours of content of him and I together on my channel, on his channel. We talked about Vinland Saga together, and now we're currently talking about Vagabond together. So he is a friend of mine, so I'm going to be talking about his book. I know that some people don't enjoy hearing friends talk about friends' book. I think it's fair, honestly. I think it's chill. If you don't want to hear me talk about what I think of my friend's book, I think that's understandable. So, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to keep it honest, but if you want to skip over this part, there are timestamps, and you can just talk to me about the next book that I'm going to read. But anyway, The Way of Edan by Philip Chase. So far, it's a really good. It's really good. I am about halfway. I'm on chapter 14, 248 pages in. So this is very classic fantasy feeling, but it doesn't... It feels classic fantasy, and the prose is very nice. He has very strong prose, but it also doesn't feel dense or heavy. It's not difficult. It's actually very easy to read. He told me one day that he's been writing this book longer than, or he started writing this book before I was born, was what he said to me, and it shows. It feels very polished. It's really good. So anyway, we're following three main perspectives. I mean, there's more perspectives, but there's three main sections. So there's Dayraven, who's our main character, and we first meet him in a village, you know, living his happy little life, and then he has an encounter with an elf that changes him forever, and now his life is on a very different trajectory. So you can kind of feel that classic fantasy vibe with his plotline. Then we also have Sequara, who is, this all takes place in a wartime, and so you really feel the ripples of that war. You really feel the impact of it everywhere, and Sequara is kind of the balance of that. At least that's how she feels to me right now, where, you know, you see people dying and injured and in pain, and then you see her healing and trying to, things that are fracturing, she's trying to put back together. She's my favorite. And then we have the priests. We have the high priest, the powers that be that are kind of pulling all the strings, and we have their perspectives and their individual plights. There are different levels of this greater Edan that they're serving, some that are power hungry and manipulative, some that are in earnest in their faith and trying to follow this way peacefully and kindly, but the ones that are power hungry and that are not doing things well are manipulating and pulling strings. So you have a pretty interesting dynamic there within the antagonist group as well. And of course, all of these perspectives, while they're separate, they're obviously all, you know, on the path to converge. Dayraven's perspective is the easiest for me to read. Like, I fly through his chapters because, again, he's so familiar, just his perspective feels very nostalgic. But Sequara is the character that I just love her. I connect with her. I want more from her. I want more of her. But it's been a really good first half of the book. It's not fast paced by any means, but it's also not like Hob pacing, or the Ember Blade pacing. While there is a quest, a travel, a journey that we're being taken on, it's not as slow paced as quests oftentimes are, but it's also not in a rush at all. Overall, I'm just really having a nice time with it. It's an easy yet very thought-provoking read, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I do have a video that I'm doing with Jimmy, Alan, Joanna, and Philip. So the five of us are going to be in a video, and it's all going to be on Joanna's channel, where we're going to be talking about it spoiler filled. So I need to finish this tomorrow, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it so that we can be a part of that chat. So I'll give you an update soon on what I think about the book as a whole. Welcome to the vlog. Good morning. So, quick update. I finished The Way of Edan and recorded a live stream for it recently. That was the one with Joanna, Jimmy, Alan, and Philip. I said live stream, it wasn't a live stream. It was a recording. It's gonna go up on Joanna's channel. I'm not sure when, but I'll have it linked whenever it's done. I really enjoyed this. So these three perspectives, I think I said this in the last clip, but it's very classic fantasy. It's very reminiscent of things that we've seen before while also still being its own thing. And I think Philip struck that balance really well as adding a lot of layers that I wasn't expecting. It's a very thematic book. You can read it just as an enjoyable story, but there's also a lot of deeper tones to it and themes to it, which I would totally expect from Philip anyway. I think the magic is my favorite part of this book. It's very, I can feel it, I can sense it, it's very tactile, and it's a soft magic system, and I think every single one of my favorite scenes in this book had to do with magic being performed. It's a magic that relies on connectivity. I don't know if I say that right. Connectivity to the earth and to people, a kind of removing of selfish ambitions and desires. Really, the whole story has a big emphasis on connection, on understanding the other creatures of the earth and or of this world and of each other, but you also have this power struggle that ended up being so much deeper than I really expected it to be on first glance. These priests that were you know, some of them were very power hungry, some of them were not, but each one of them had deeper layers to them as well, in a way that I just really didn't expect to see explored, especially not in the first book, but really just in general. I didn't expect to see how their own inner conflicts and the manipulation to them, how deep it all went. Dayraven, the main perspective, was the perspective that I ended up souring on a little bit. I still like him well enough, but he's the young lad who's on his journey. He's the chosen one, and boy, just focus up. Just focus up, kid. There was also a thing that happened near the end that I wasn't really keen on. But overall, I really enjoyed myself. Sequara is still my favorite. I don't know if I said that in the last clip, but from the beginning she was my favorite. She remains my favorite. I really enjoyed it. Philip is releasing all three of these books this year, and I'm really excited to get into book 2, I think in June. I'm looking forward to continuing with the series for sure, and I think we're going to continue to have discussions on all of them on Joanna's channel. And I'm currently reading 2 other books, and I'm debating on which one to talk to you about in this clip, because I'm early on in both of them, and one of them I'm gonna focus up on and finish this week, and the other one I'll finish by the end of the month, but not in this vlog. So I'm trying to decide which one I'm gonna commit to and talk to you about. I think this one, because it's a faster, easier read, and this is a very thoughtful read that I'm taking very slowly. So I think this is the one that's gonna be more realistic for me to finish in this vlog. So we'll talk about Before the Coffee Gets Cold. So I've only read the first story so far. There are 4 stories. They all take place in this coffee shop where there's a single table at the coffee shop where if you sit in that seat, then you can go back in time to a moment and you can have a conversation all over again. There's a lot of rules around this seat. There's a ghost that sits in the seat at all times except for one bathroom break that she takes one time a day, but it's not the same time every day, so you just have to camp out and wait and try to grab that seat. But there are other people that want the seat too, so you have to, it's a thing. But anyway, you can, if you get in the seat, then the coffee is poured and you have until the coffee goes cold to have this conversation, but it will not change anything. You're not going to change your future. It will not change what has already been solidified in the past. You just get closure essentially, or hopefully you do, and you get to have this one last conversation with maybe someone you lost, maybe with someone that you wish you could have this last discussion with. But if you don't get out of the seat before the coffee gets cold, then there are dire consequences. I'll let you discover those on your own. But anyway, I've only done the first story so far, and I'm already pretty impressed with it. It's a lot more lore and story than I really expected. I was kind of expecting just 4 short stories talking about grief or loss or regrets, or, you know, like the kind of things that you would expect to be explored in that sort of thing. And I just kind of expected them to be disjointed. Here's 3 people or 4 people who have gone back in time, but it's a lot more of a story than that. Anyway, I just did the first one that follows a woman who deeply regrets a relationship choice that she made, and she wants to go back and change that decision. Now she can't because you can't change the future, but she still wants to try. She still wants to have that conversation. So that was the first story, and that's where we really got the lore around this coffee shop, the ghost, the seat that you can sit in, the way time travel works. So I assume the next 3 stories will be a little bit shorter, or we're just gonna build on this. I'm not really sure. So that's what's going on with this. I'm also reading Dawn, and I'm making good progress in that too, but again, I'm just taking it very, very slowly because Butler, she's an author that demands to be read slowly and to just be taken in. So that won't be finished this week. Anyway, this was a much longer update than I anticipated. Before the coffee gets cold. So I read the other 3 stories. It was lovely. It's so the time travel element of it, you can go in the past, you could go in the future. Why would you want to? Because of all the rules involved, all the things. None of it is ever, don't go into this expecting a sci-fi. That is not what this book is. This is a character story. It's a story about people. It's a story about what you learn and what you want to do for your life and connections and people. It's about people. It's about coming away a better person, and time travel is nothing but a vehicle to get us to that point. So very much more on the literary side than on the sci-fi side. I wouldn't even call it like Dawn, the Butler book that I'm reading. Like Dawn, I would call a literary sci-fi, where, you know, both facets are just as important. This one, just literary. Sci-fi is only there to get us to the literary. So know that going in. It's very cozy, very close, very people story. I will say cozy books are rarely my thing, but even though I could see the direction that it was going in, even though I could tell what it was building up to in that final story, it still got me choked up. It was still really sweet. It was a good one. It was a good one. I know there are people that this is one of the top books that they've read, or top books of the year that they read it in. There are some people that kind of just, why do people hype this? This was nothing. This was a nothing burger. I'm kind of fall in the middle where I enjoyed reading it. It was a very good read. It's one that I'll reflect on and think about. I enjoyed asking myself the question, if I went into this coffee shop and the ghosty girl got up and went to the bathroom and I could snatch that seat, who would I go see? What would I do? I like asking that question of myself and exploring that answer. It was a good read. It's so very short. The margins are, I mean, the font is quite large. It's a very quick read. So I would say it's worth it. Even if you don't really come away having thought or reflected that much, what's the harm? Whereas I came away having thought about a lot. So I'm happy to have read it. Didn't change my life, but it did cause me to think, and I like that. So that's it. I'm going to read more Dawn. I'm gonna finish this by the end of the month. So if you want my thoughts on Dawn, check out the wrap up, and I'll probably be doing a dedicated video for this because our Vagabond discussions, we've had to skip this week, so there will be no Vagabond discussion next week on Philip's channel, and then we're gonna pick up again the following week on Philip's channel. So I'm gonna have 2 weeks in a row on my channel with no Vagabond. So extra review, which means it'll probably be this one because I need to talk about it super lots. So if you want my spoiler-free thoughts on it, check out the wrap up because it's a lot and I'm gonna want to talk about it, but it's excellent and horrifying. I've also started, because I'm in that kind of mood where I'm just starting everything and I'm trying to stop myself and just focus on one book at a time, because I started both of these this week, but I also started both of these this week, and the second book of The Magicians just came in the mail. The Magician's King just came in the mail. So I really want to start that too, but also Sanderson's Secret Project #2 is coming out on Saturday. So I'm in that mood where I just wanna taste everything. So I'm trying to dial it back. I gave this one all my attention. Now this one's gonna get all my attention. And then next week, in the next vlog, we're gonna talk about Secret Project #2, and we're gonna talk about one of these two that I will give a bunch of my focus to. I'm in the early stages of both. I don't have much to say about either one. Anyway, yeah, that's what's going on. I did also read one more volume of Yona. I really slacked on my manga reading this week. We're skipping a week of Vagabond, so I haven't read any of that, and I've only read 1 volume of Yona, so sorry about that. But I did read 1 more volume. This is the one that people have been waiting for me to get, and I would like to say that my theory about Zeno was correct. I called it! I knew it! I could tell. The clues were there and I saw it. I had the vision. I don't know what's wrong with me. I saw it coming. I saw it. And it was awesome and I love him. You know? Was not sold on him when he first entered our story, but oh, I really like him now and I'm looking forward to learning more about him. Excellent volume. Again, very emotional. Very emotional, my goodness, but also with some sprinklings of wholesome, sweet joy, which was really nice. And very, very, very much looking forward to seeing where the story goes from here. The friend of mine that I'm buddy reading this series with is super busy right now, so we may be taking the next couple volumes a little bit slow. Just a heads up, but you know, we're both really into it, so we'll be continuing. Anyway, this week I read The Way of Edan, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and 1 more volume of Yona, as well as started like 50 other things. Next week I will be posting on Tuesday and Friday instead of Monday and Friday on the main channel, and I'll be posting on Wednesday and Thursday on this channel. It's just a 1-week thing with scheduling. That's just the way it wound up working out. Not that it matters to you. I hope you've had a lovely week. I hope you've read something nice. Feel free to chat with me about either of these or whatever you feel like in the comments. I'll see you again soon. Bye.